He's James Wilson, and I'm Matthew Rowney, and this is our review of Heaven Sent.
Heaven Sent?
Yes, that's the name.
What an episode.
Yes.
What an episode.
Right, let's hope by the time the titles have rolled, James actually has speech to review the episode. James?
Might take us a couple of 3 billion years to get to the end of the review.
We'll get to that.
Wow. I mean, seriously, guys, wow. Let's just start it with that word in particular. W-O-W. Wow. What a beginning to the season finale of Series 9 of Doctor Who.
Yes, very, very interesting. Very unique, very different, and very, I will say, brilliant.
Yes. It is a very original plot, and, I mean, this has got to be the greatest script that Stephen Moffat has written in a very, very long time. He's not written a script this good since...
Deep Breath?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'd say Deep Breath.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Because Deep Breath was about on par with Listen, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe.
With Me Now. And you know, so I really don't know, but Heaven Sent is definitely up there with one of Stephen Moffat's greatest scripts.
Yeah, I was so intrigued, like, throughout the episode. I could not take my eyes off it.
And that's exactly what we said in the preview. We said, for this to work, it can't bore us.
Yeah.
There has got to be something just round the corner that's got to scare the Doctor or scare us. And my God, it scared me.
Yeah.
I have, like, genuinely... I mean, okay, let me take you guys back to 2007 when I first watched Blink.
Oh.
I genuinely couldn't sleep. I genuinely grabbed a sleeping bag and slept on the floor of my grandma's room. That is how scared I was. And that was me at the rightful age of about 12. So, you know, that's about the right age to get scared, right? I'm 20. Grown-ass man... I was fucking scared stiff, sorry for the language, of the Veil.
Yeah.
I was freaking scared shitless.
Yeah, that was down to the direction, and I've got to...
Praise Rachel Talalay
Rachel
for that.
Talalay and Murray Gold together with the setting of this episode. It was cinematic. I think that's the word to describe this episode. It was cinematic, really intriguing, and really atmospheric as well.
Yeah.
You know, the atmosphere was so intense, and I couldn't take my eyes off it. Yeah, it was very good. We'll start with the pre-title sequence because it started off with a beautiful monologue from the Doctor, which turned out to have been on the wall in the background. Lovely pre-title sequence that set up the plot, set up the Veil very well.
Yes.
And he came out and gave a spine-tingling line.
Yes,
if you had anything to do with her, you know, I'm the Doctor, I will find you, and I will never, ever stop.
My God, what a great pre-title sequence. And how great is that with the title sequence, with the theme tune, without it doing that stalling thing that it did with Matt Smith's theme. It's like, with Matt Smith's theme, what did the beginning bit have? That was freaking ridiculous.
It's like a car trying to get going.
It was. It was like someone was actually trying to start the theme tune. It was like... Oh, it's not starting. Oh, for goodness sake.
The battery's gone.
Oh, it's not working. It's not working. And then with Capaldi, it was finally... Oh, thank God that worked. Sorry, Matthew. I think I spat all over you. But yes, so, anyway, theme tune aside. It was... I mean, after that, we then... The chills and spine-tingling moments just started straight from there. The Doctor, of course, we know he's prone to talking to himself, but I loved how he used Clara as... the grief he had from just losing Clara. He still used her in a way. That Clara still had a presence there.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it was really, really great how that was done. The grief of losing his best friend just one episode later was used in an absolutely brilliant way. Clara was on the chalkboard in the Doctor's okay, I'm not going to call it Mind Palace because that's going to piss off a hell of a lot of Sherlock fans, writing on a chalkboard and asking the Doctor questions. So the function of a companion was still there.
Yeah, there's always a very fine line when a character departs in Doctor Who, you know, if that's die or not. The aftermath, it always has to be handled really well. Like, after Amy and Rory left, the Doctor decided to dress up in darker clothing, and he was dark for about the first 15 minutes of The Snowmen.
Yeah.
And, yeah, the aftermath of Amy and Rory's departure wasn't as present, but in this, I think Clara's was handled very well. She was physically in the episode for a very small part, which we'll get to, which I loved. But it was almost like she was still there beside him.
Yeah.
Her spirit was still there, her motivation was still there. And I really liked the way they used the chalkboard, because it was a good metaphor, because Clara is a teacher, and she was kind of teaching the Doctor in his mind.
Yeah.
And I loved how whenever he went into his mind, he went to his TARDIS. It was so clever and so nice to see how the Doctor thinks.
It was. That was really, really nice that they did that. And plus, the change from one companion to another is slow this time. We don't even know who the companion is. We don't even think they've actually begun casting yet. So, you know, it's been a slow, very painful transition for the Doctor, for a companion. And instead of, you know, just going from one companion to the next one episode later.
Yeah.
You know, so I like that, you know, he's going to have a few episodes at least with no companion.
Yeah, we might as well mention the scene when... And I can imagine a lot of people would have been a bit annoyed that Clara's face was seen, but later on in the episode, she did, you know, the Doctor, we will talk about 12, don't you worry.
Yes, my goodness, yes.
He had a breakdown, in a way, and Clara, even in his mind, was there to ground him, and she grabbed hold of his cheek and she said, "Get off your arse and win."
Yes.
And again, you know, I wouldn't say it's...
What a moment.
I wouldn't say it's mild language, but
no.
yeah, it's interesting to see that, and I can imagine Moffat saying it in his head, you know, "Get off your arse and win." But yeah, that made Liv cry, and it made me a little bit moved.
Yeah.
It was lovely to see Clara's ghost.
Yeah, there were so many different moments at certain times. I mean, there were lines that certainly made me give the little, like a little, you know, giggle at times. And then there were just tons of moments where I was clutching, pretty much suffocating a pillow, and I was just like...
Yeah.
Doctor, look out! You know, and people have always referred to Doctor Who with hiding behind the settee. And I've always been like, never done that. But I was close to actually doing it.
Yeah.
I was like going behind the settee. If there wasn't a big chunk of wall backed up against the settee, I would. But, I mean, seriously, I was genuinely frightened.
Yeah, and that was down to the Veil.
Yes.
Who I think was a great antagonist. And what I loved, and I said this in the preview, I loved how the Veil never spoke, and we never saw its face. That was brilliant, because usually with a scary villain, you know, their marketing, and we've seen it with the Fisher King, you know, we've spoke about this God knows how many times, but they always mishandle villains sometimes by they're scary, but they reveal what they look like before the episode.
Yeah.
The Veil, we never saw what it looked like, we never saw its face, it never spoke, it was just this... It was almost like a supernatural presence. The noise it made, I don't even know how to describe the scream and the way that it was slowly stalking the Doctor.
Yeah, and the buzzing of flies as well.
The one scene, and this was the first time I've jumped out of my seat since Blink.
Please tell me this is the moment.
When the Doctor was digging.
Yeah.
And the Veil was in that hallway, and he went up to the window, and I was like, oh my god, it's going to jump. And then he opened the door. And it was boom there.
That was my jump moment. That was my jump moment. I mean, seriously, that actually made me jump out of my skin.
I jumped on rewatch as well.
Yeah,
Even though I knew it was coming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was pretty much on my phone that moment, and I was still like, oh my god.
And,
you know.
And then when the Doctor was in the grave, and it just boom over the top of him.
Yes, my goodness.
Wow.
I mean, the Veil, Rachel Talele, the set pieces just made this episode. I mean, seriously, Rachel Talele called this episode a puzzle box of a brilliant script, and I love that. And and Rachel Talele handled that very, very well. I've got to say, I prefer this to her past effort with Dark Water and Death in Heaven.
Yes.
I've got to admit, I did prefer this to her previous work on Doctor Who. So yeah, Rachel Talele, just great setting, everything brilliant.
Very good. What did you think of the Doctor having to confess something. Every time the Veil was about to kill him, he had to confess.
Well, let me just
something.
say that a lot of the online response was, in reference to later on in the episode, if the hybrid thing was a lie, then wouldn't that really
Yes.
couldn't the Doctor have just lied his way through and not really having to tell the truth at all? But let me just
We'll
put
get
this
to the
across.
hybrid thing at the end.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But yeah, I actually thought that was really, really good. I mean, seriously, it was an interrogation.
Yeah.
Seriously, it was a much fun version of in those cop movies where you see a killer getting interrogated in an interrogation room, and there's always the one-way mirror, and there's always where people are watching them through a mirror, and the cops are doing good cop bad cop on them, but there's just one bad cop, and it's the Veil, reaching into the Doctor's nightmares and projecting them at him,
Yeah.
and forcing him to probably let out his confession that was in his confession dial.
Yeah.
That was absolute genius.
Yeah, I loved it because the Doctor never confesses anything.
No.
And he had to do that to survive at this point.
Yeah.
And, there were moments where I honestly thought he might confess something really huge, like he spoke about Gallifrey and he ran away because he was scared, and later it was about the hybrid, which we'll get to at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, the Veil was a very good villain, and we looking back at our preview, some of our theories now looked pretty ambitious.
Yeah.
But we predicted, it could be one of Omega's army or something. But it was an old woman from Gallifrey who the Doctor used to have nightmares about as a child.
Yeah.
Which leads me on to talking about the setting. Now, me and you, we bigged up the setting a lot. We said, that it was built up to be this horrible torture chamber, this horrible place to be. It had to be claustrophobic, isolated. Did it live up to expectations?
It surpassed them.
Did it?
It surpassed my expectations, because if it let's be honest, if it did reach my expectations, if it was what I expected, it would be nowhere near as thrilling. So I'm really glad that Stephen Moffat surprised me with, just the sheer thrill of the episode and the villain and Peter Capaldi as well. It just absolutely surpassed them. And if anything, I'm really glad, looking back at our preview, I'm really glad that he didn't do any of the ideas that we were thinking of.
Maybe. I don't know if it surpassed my expectations.
On par or below them?
On par, maybe a little bit below. I mean, I don't know if it's because my expectations were through the roof. I don't know if I expected it to have been a bit darker, a bit more of a maze, a bit more of a, maybe they could have used the fact that that it was twisting and turning a bit more. Maybe it could have been a bit more hellish and scary. And I did think that some of the puzzles in there would be a bit more physically tough.
What more violence do you need? We saw the Doctor burnt to a crisp almost, and we saw his skull. We saw his actual skull
at the end. I mean, throughout before that, I don't know if I maybe thought that the setting could have put a little bit more of a physical toll on the Doctor before the end. But I'm not saying that it was awful. I'm just saying it didn't surpass my expectations as much as you. But I still think the setting worked really, really well.
No, but it took a mental toll on him. Surely, I think he's gonna not come out unscathed by this.
Of course not.
He has been beaten to a pulp by this place that he spent 5 billion years there, and the reason why it didn't take a physical toll on him was because, well, he kept going around in circles. It kept going around in a vicious recycle. So it didn't take a physical toll on him because, well, how could it? He just kept repeating.
I guess I think it surpassed the mental effect that I thought it would have on the Doctor, definitely, because being in that place for as long as he was, over and over again, that is mental torture for anybody. And the end was beyond physical torture. So, the final 10-15 minutes surpassed my expectations. Before then, I don't quite know if it surpassed it physically. That might just be me. That's just personal preference. I might have been expecting it to have been a bit more physically, impactful on him, but it still worked. It was still a great setting.
Yeah, I mean, I know how it feels. I mean, so close to the finale, we know that something really huge is going to happen. Part of us really knows what's going to happen. We're like, we know what's going to happen. We know what's going to happen. We know what the cliffhanger's going to be. But it, just to let you know, it didn't stop us from reacting how we did to the cliffhanger. But I know what you're trying to say. It's you can't help but put your expectations so very, very high.
Yeah, I know.
And when and when they don't, surpass them just at least a little bit, then you feel a little part of you just goes, yeah, like, oh, bit of a letdown that, So I do understand that very much so, but to me, my expectations were very ground level because this was only episode 11. Come on, I mean, the big stuff is going to happen next week.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The big stuff is going to happen this Saturday, that's, so if something huge happened this week, then it wouldn't be as impactful in Hellbent. So, I think Heaven Sent just gave us exactly the right amount for us.
It didn't blow me away, but it didn't let me down either. It was good.
It was the perfect balance.
Yes, it was. It was good. It was solid. It didn't blow me away, but I still really, really enjoyed the setting of wherever the hell the Doctor was.
Oh, yes,
His confession dial.
Definitely. Now, on to the man of this 55 minutes.
Yeah, we've kind of spoke about everything.
Yeah.
We're up to the end now.
Yes,
okay.
So that's a great thing about this episode. Everything great within it, but, it's kind of easy to get through it all.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean the episode wasn't good or anything. More than
simplistic,
good.
but very effective.
Definitely.
Yes.
And so, on to, and the Oscar goes to Mr. Peter Capaldi, ladies and gentlemen. My God, what a performance by this man. The greatest performance that I have seen in his tenure thus far. Seriously, I thought he was great in that speech from, in Zygon inversion, but then the American accent sort of spoiled it. Nothing spoiled this episode.
He gets better. Every time we think he's hit his peak, Capaldi just excels.
Exactly.
Even more.
He just gives him that. He's like, oh, you think that was great? Watch this.
Exactly.
He keeps surprising us. And in this episode, he really did excel. I mean, Stephen Moffat has been talking about this episode for a while. He set himself a challenge. A whole episode. In fact, more than the normal 45-minute mark. 55 minutes.
Yeah.
Almost an hour of all Peter Capaldi. That, I've got to say, is brilliant. I mean, Peter Capaldi was just, oh my God.
I can't think of a word to describe him.
Every
superlative.
Every award they could give to an actor, Oscar, BAFTA, Grammy, screw it, give it all to Capaldi.
Yeah.
Just send them all in the mail. Just be like, here you go, Mr. Capaldi. Seriously, I mean,
he continues to blow me away, and I don't think there's ever been a single-handed Doctor episode like this before, and therefore I think this is without doubt one of the best, if the best, performance an actors gave as the Doctor.
Yes.
On their own. I mean, Peter himself handled this episode really, really well. He had to express so many different emotions at so many different times. I mean, there was anger in there at the start, but then there was also the scene where he broke down. Where it got too much for him. I loved the scene where when the realization of what he had to do came around and he broke down in his mind, and we saw for the first time 12 on the brink of crying, and then Clara had to ease him.
Yeah.
And then at the end with the physical torture that he had to go through, I could feel it. I could feel the pain through him, and I think we also have to praise Moffat because people assume, I think they must look at Who Addicts Reviews as the Moffat hate channel.
Yeah.
We do not hate Moffat. He frustrates us at times, but he has his great moments, and we can all agree he has his not so great moments.
As does every writer.
But I've got to say, Stephen Moffat, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, thank you and well bloody done. To keep a story this well paced, going at the right speed for 55 minutes is a credit to how good he really is when he can be.
Yes, definitely. When he's truly passionate about scripts that he does. And you can tell he's had this idea for a while, and he's had time to perfect it. And I think he's been thinking about the idea of having an episode with the Doctor on his own for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
I mean, I said this in my initial reaction, and I shall say this again. This is an episode about a man. It is a character piece about a man that there should never be a character piece about. No. Because it's in the title, really. The Doctor has always got to have that certain level of mystery. The Doctor has... we have known him and loved him for 52 years. And we've known him and relished in his adventures, and we practically know nothing about him.
Yeah.
So this was the closest I think we'll get to a character piece, to truly get inside the psyche, the thought process, the mere man that is the Doctor. And I think for Stephen Moffat to do that and succeed, I think seriously, here, well bloody done, sir.
Yeah, I mean, there are times when his episodes do get a little bit frustrating, but we all know how good Moffat can be when he pulls off an episode. I mean, under Russell T Davies, every episode he did was a phenomenal hit.
Yes.
And of course, being head writer, you've got to write more episodes, you've got to put much more time and effort, which means you're more liable to writing the odd clunker.
Yeah.
But when Moffat does write a good episode, he doesn't write good episodes, he writes fantastic episodes. Yeah. I mean, Deep Breath, Listen, last year's finale, had its moments, but this series, the opening two-part that he'd written, I thought was great.
It was, and I don't phenomenal.
Has he written anything else apart from the opening two-part?
Well, he's co-wrote... Yeah, he co-wrote The Girl Who Died.
Co-wrote.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. He co-wrote the Zygon inversion. He's co-wrote a lot of this series, but, I mean, seriously, Heaven Sent is his crowning glory in this series, I think.
Yeah, and if he can beat this next week, then we're in for an incredible finale.
Yes.
So yeah, Moffat, Peter, I don't think I can find words to describe you right now.
Yes.
But they were great. Now we must talk about the end. Well, not quite the end, but the Doctor... Yeah. The Doctor having to break through. It wasn't Diamond. It was, I think, four times. Yeah,
it was
tougher.
It was 400 times tougher than Diamond,
and he had to chisel through it with his bare hands.
And 30 feet thick
20,
or something.
20 feet.
Yeah, 20 feet thick,
yeah.
and well, he had to chisel away at it with his fist. And he had to do that for around about 5 billion years or something like that. I mean, see, the problem was, the one problem was with this episode, actually, no, it's kind of like a two-header. Thing was that when we started to see constant, I think it was 5 full minutes of clips of just the same thing kept going over and over and over and over again. And it was still confusing me. Stephen Moffat was trying to get across what he was doing. It was like Stephen Moffat was slowly going, right, there you go, getting at it, there we go, and finally, there you go. So it took 5 minutes of full clips of Peter Capaldi on the balcony just going 5 million years, 6 million years, 7 billion years into the future. And then we just kept seeing over and over again the Doctor, the skull, all sorts of things dotted around the episode. And I'm sorry, but that still didn't find a solution for me until he finally punched through Like, I was like, okay, so he's been telling a story to the Vale for a very long time, punching through that wall, and here's the other thing. This isn't me this isn't me trying to criticize the episode. Please, anyone in the comment section, if anyone has got a justification as to how this happened, then please put it in the comment section.
Same here, yeah.
That wall, if the whole castle, if every room was reverting back to the moment the Doctor arrived, why was that wall... That wall should have just stayed as it was. That wall shouldn't have kept chiselling away. That wall should have just stayed as it was. That whole time. All that punching should have been pointless.
Yeah.
So, please put, what your justification for this, because it seems like it's not even a nitpick. It's a huge part of the plot.
It is, and if there was a throwaway line in there that we've missed, which justified why this wall was different to the rest of the building. I don't know if it's because the structure of the building itself kept reverting, but that part, that material, I forgot the name, whatever rock it was, that might not have been part of the castle. It was like separate. Maybe I'm trying to find a solution myself.
Maybe because I always thought maybe it was because it was a gateway, but it was just between the castle and Gallifrey. So
it was separate.
Yeah, it was separate, sort of. So maybe it was separate through that little time trickery that the castle was doing. So maybe that was different to that. Maybe Room 12 was outside the rest of the castle.
Yeah.
I don't really know, but please, if there was a throwaway line we missed, we'd love to know it.
It didn't detract away from the episode, but
no.
If it is true, it is quite a large plot hole.
Yeah.
But the concept of the Doctor punching his way through this wall for 7 billion years. Did that sit well with you? Because
yes.
the thought of him punching and for 7 billion years.
It just made me think when he was crawling through when he was crawling up those stairs, and it took him about a day and a half, probably more, to get to the top of the castle. I was just like, oh my god! I felt his pain. I was like, that is literally hell.
Yeah.
These episodes are worded wrong. Seriously, this is hell sent. I mean, seriously. Imagine going through exactly the same thing all the time for 7 billion years.
And I believe he could remember it all.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
He remembered the whole thing.
Wow.
So he had to just punch his way through and just kept dying the whole time until eventually, bam, he got his way into Gallifrey, and that justified his the 11th Doctor's line at the end of Day of the Doctor.
The long way, yeah, without
Yes.
doubt, the long way around. My goodness, yeah. I said earlier that the setting may not have lived up to its expectations in the first 45 minutes, but in the last 10, it surpassed it. I mean, it was like it was surpassing the wall itself. It blew my expectations away with a stern fist. I mean, the physical torture of punching a wall that tough for 7 billion years is just unthinkable.
Yeah.
And the mental torture of having to do that over and over again, having to continually avoid the veil, keep yourself sleeping, keep yourself eating for 7 billion years.
Yeah.
Wow, and let's just, say now that the Doctor's age is now a mystery.
Yeah.
Let's not even bother going there
No.
from now on. People try, and TARDIS Archives tried and made a great video, but there's no way in hell anybody can predict his age now.
No.
No way.
No one.
No way at all.
No, absolutely not. So, finally, ladies and gentlemen, on to the cliffhanger of Heaven Sent. My goodness me, what a cliffhanger. I mean, seriously, it's revealed that that castle was kind of inside his confession dial.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Very clever solution to that. And so he meets this random child that Matthew isn't too keen on. This child.
What was he doing there? Where was his parents?
Well, see, that's the thing. That's the thing. The Doctor and the Master just used to run about and just do.
It reminds me of, it's like closing time. At the end of closing time, when the Doctor's about to get into the TARDIS, and he sees them random 3 children.
Yeah.
And they're just looking at him. I never knew who he was, but he looked important. I like his hat. Who were they? And what they did? I mean, no, it's no way a criticism. It makes me laugh more than anything.
No,
but this kid was randomly there.
No, see, I actually thought it was like pretty good in my opinion, because the Time Lord, because Gallifreyan children, they're allowed to roam about the hills because they're future Time Lords. I bet you one Time Lord child is probably smarter than us put together.
Yeah.
So I think Gallifreyan children are responsible enough to go running about the mountains.
Where's he going to run off to? He's stuck in a pocket universe.
Yeah, very true.
He's not going to go anywhere, is he?
Very true. So, and just that line, just like, and I love how he didn't actually say the Time Lords. He didn't actually say it until we actually, saw the Citadel.
Yes.
And he said, go into the city, tell them I know what happened, and I'm coming. And he went and...
if they ask who, tell them I came the long way around.
Yes, and oh my goodness, what a line. And it turns out the Doctor's the hybrid. Did that sit well with you?
Well, I just want to talk to you about the reveal of Gallifrey itself first, because don't get me wrong, I mean, it made me cry. I'm not going to lie. I teared up, happy tears when I saw Gallifrey. I just felt so happy and content for the Doctor that we'd finally seen him home. So it did not take anything away from the impact. But when looking back on it, I wish they'd not mentioned Gallifrey in the synopsis. Because as soon as he broke through and we saw the orange background, I knew where he was. So when we saw the Citadel, it was still, oh my god, but I knew it was Gallifrey before then.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that the cliffhanger didn't work. It shocked me. I loved it. I was fangirling. I was crying. But they could have done it better still. Yeah. If they didn't mention Gallifrey in the synopsis. Again,
it's a clash between the marketing and the
yeah. But the reveal itself, Gallifrey's back.
Yes.
Freaking Gallifrey's back.
Gallifrey is back.
And
seriously,
the Doctor's the hybrid.
Yes. You're not happy with that?
Hated it.
Hated it? Really?
At first.
Maybe
At first.
Is that just due to the Sonic sunglasses?
At first, I hated it.
Fair enough.
On rewatch, I kind of loved it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
I don't know why, but when I expected him to put on the sunglasses, I expected the CSI music to come on. You know, it was me. You know, I expected the CSI music to come on because I know when he says some sort of cheesy, really bigoted line, he takes his sunglasses off or puts them on and just goes, you know, and that loud scream comes on. So I just expected that. Sorry, a little childish thing from me. But no, I really liked the idea of the hybrid, but I'm just thinking, what is he a hybrid of? Is this going back to in the TV movie when he said he was half human?
I bloody hope, I hope not. I mean, at first, I'll admit, I hated the idea. I absolutely despised it. On first viewing, I was sat there going, really? I was like, really? After all this, the Doctor's the hybrid? Come on. But then on rewatch, I kind of thought, the Doctor's the hybrid. He's going to conquer Gallifrey and stand over its ruins. He's the enemy. It's the time. Oh my god! And I started to think how dangerous that made the Doctor sound. And it's almost as if he's going into the finale as the villain. Yeah. And it just makes the Doctor seem much more badass, much more dangerous, and I like that. Yeah.
Let's not go any more into the finale. No. As that is for Wednesday, where we will be previewing Hellbent.
And seeing if he is the hybrid or not.
Yes.
Because he says, me is the hybrid, which could mean a few things. Anyway.
Yes. Yep. So, Matthew, would you like to go on to the your conclusion?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm first.
Oh, who cares?
I'll go for it. Okay.
Go on.
Heaven Sent was a very compelling and incredibly unique story, which is the best character piece on the Doctor we've had since the 50th. Capaldi showed how great of an actor he really is with one of the best, if not the best performance of his tenure so far. Seeing how the Doctor thinks was really interesting, especially how he mentally used Clara to still support him, which was beautiful. The setting of the confession dial worked rather well, and the direction and the score were terrific and complemented the setting brilliantly. I was expecting it to be a bit more hellish and dangerous for the Doctor, but what he had to do in the end was torture anyway. The Veil was a very scary villain who thankfully didn't speak or reveal itself, and only silently stalked the Doctor, which was really creepy. The ending was really clever, and the cliffhanger was fantastic. Despite being predictable, seeing Gallifrey was amazing, and the hybrid reveal didn't sit well with me at first, but it's made me even more intrigued for next week's finale. Well done, Stephen Moffat and Peter Capaldi. You have perhaps written your best character piece so far. Heaven Sent gets a very, 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 very strong 9 out of 10.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, so Heaven Sent is the perfect character piece on the Doctor that I never knew I wanted. Peter Capaldi deserves every known award for this performance, as he bears all and doesn't hold back, giving us the greatest performance I've seen of any Doctor. The plot was thrilling and I was left on the edge of my seat, as the Veil genuinely gave me nightmares. Although the solution could have been better executed, it was a clever ending that tied into the long way round line. I congratulate Rachel Taylor, Stephen Moffat and Peter Capaldi for their absolutely brilliant work on this episode. The perfect beginning to a phenomenal finale. 9.5 out of 10.
9.5.
9.5.
Right, interesting.
9.5.
Interesting.
Just shy of a 10.
Yeah, I didn't give it a 10 just because I thought that the setting could have been a little bit better, and obviously the cliffhanger for Gallifrey could have been a bit better. But I did originally give it a 9.5, and I just kind of thought, no, it's a very, very strong 9.
It is.
A very strong 9. The strongest possible 9 out of 10.
Yes, yes, definitely. So, is that all we need to say on Heaven Sent?
I think it is.
Yes. So then, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you guys on Wednesday, where we will be previewing the finale to Doctor Who Series 9, Hellbent. Ladies and gentlemen, Gallifrey has returned. I've just about got my head around that episode. Please like this video, subscribe to Who Addicts Reviews, and comment in the section below what you guys thought about Heaven Sent. I mean, wow, the Oscar goes to Mr. Peter Dugan Capaldi. Wow.
Yeah. Visit our website, which is at the bottom of your screen. There are file links to Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, where you'll be able to follow us across social media. And we'll see you in our preview of Hellbent, the final preview of the series, where we'll be previewing not only the next time trailer, but the TV trailer as well.
But the wall should have stayed as it was. The diamond wall should have...
Yeah.
If the room reverted back to how it was when he came. The wall shouldn't have changed. More